Welcome to the Wolf's Den and another action figure review. Today we are taking a look at the Marauder Task Force Valkyries figures. These figures were on Kickstarter a little over a year ago, and they had hopes of being released this past summer, but with some delays they did not get them out to their Kickstarter backers until December. This is the first wave of figures that is being released. Since they had so many to release, they had to break them up into the waves, and the next wave should be coming in the next few months. As of this recording, Marauders has not put these figures up for sale on their website, but they're planning to do so soon. So if you're interested in getting these figures and their accessories, I'll have a link posted in the description. And with that, let's take a closer look at these figures. We will start off by taking a look at the articulation of these figures, and since they are all constructed the same, we only need to take a look at one of them. So we have a volunteer here, and we see that her head rotates all the way around. Arm raises up to the shoulder that high, but also does spin all the way around at the shoulder. Elbow has a single bend and rotates. Wrists rotate, and then they rock up and down. There's a ball joint at the waist, so they can rock back and forth and side to side, like so. Legs raise all the way up to the sides there, and then all the way forward, so nice motion in the legs. Double jointed knees. Feet rock up and down, and then also rotate at the ankle. And that is their articulation. Continue on, let's take a look at some of the details on each individual figure. And since we looked at her articulation, we'll continue here with the Desert Ops figure. Here we can look at the head sculpt, and they did an excellent job in making these head sculpts. You know, seeing some of the earlier prototype images, I wasn't so sure how well these would turn out, but I think they did an excellent job. The paint apps are really nice. They did a nice job painting the eyes and the eyebrows and the lips on there. The hair looks really good. You know, I like the braid on the ponytail here. Moving down, we can see the desert camouflage, you know, over the whole body here. Got some armored wrist guards here. Little armor plate on the gloves. The zipper here running up and down the body. Nice little belt painted in there, and some various straps, knee pads, and just some nice boots, nice details on the boots. And for those unaware, these pegs, or these holes here, you'll be able to peg modular pieces in, which I will show later. I'll go over all those different pieces later. But much like the male figures from previous assortment that Marauders put out, you got one on the thigh here, and then one down on the leg, but there's none on the arms. Like the males had pegs, or a place where you could peg them into the arms, but the females do not. So that's the Desert Ops figure. Alright, moving on next, we have the Urban Ops figure. Same sculpt as the Desert Ops, except everything's grays and blacks instead of the browns that the Desert Ops had. And she's sporting a masked head here. So it's a pretty basic masked head, but still nice job on the eyes and the skin showing through the mask there. Really nice looking. Otherwise it's the same sculpt, just different color, but still looks really nice. Alright, that's the Urban Ops figure. Next we have the Night Ops figure, who again is constructed exactly like the others. She just lacks any paint apps at all. She is just completely black. Same sculpt, same details, all there, but nothing is painted in. Only thing we can see on her is the eyes, you know, and around the eyes on the face there. Otherwise, exactly the same. And finally, for female figures, we have the Recon-Ops figure. As you can see, she does look different than the others, at least from the waist up, because she is just wearing a t-shirt, you know, with short sleeves, and then you can see her bare arms here. Again, she has a very nice head sculpt. Nice job on the paint apps. Nice job on the textures of the hair. Looks nice short hair. And then I added something a little different here. I put a gloved hand on this figure and left this one, you know, just bare, just so you could see the difference. So you could put a gloved hand on there, and because of the little ring on the wrist here, it just makes the gloved hand look like it could naturally be on there. Whereas here, it just looks like it's maybe a watch or something. So you can have either bare hands or gloved hands on there, and both look equally as good because they put that little ring on there. And then from the waist down, she's just the same construction as the other figures, just some nice camouflage paint apps there. And that's the Recon-Ops figure. One last note about the Recon-Ops figure. As you can see, I put her regular hand back on there. If you're wondering where the gloved hand came from, as a Kickstarter backer, they included the upper body with the same camouflage pattern for the Recon-Ops figure, you know, in full uniform. And so to change it, you just have to pull. There we go. I pulled her leg off too here. And then you got the ball joint there. You just snap this on there, and there. It was just that easy. Also included was another t-shirted figure. I got a black t-shirted figure. So if I wanted to use her on any of the other bodies, I could just pop them off at the waist and put that on there. So that's a nice little feature of these figures, is that they can easily come apart at the waist, and you can try mixing and matching different parts of the bodies. Alright, let's move on to some of their gear. The Valkyries came with loads of accessories. What you see here is just part of them, or at least one of each different thing they came with. There were many, many more in different colors and whatnot, but this should give you a good idea of how the Valkyries work. None of them came with guns, which is a little sad, especially since the Night Ops figure came with this gun case. And it's a very cool idea. See, this slot here is where the gun slides in. There's a peg on the back to use it as a backpack. And digging through my Joe guns, found this one here. You can see it just slides right in there. And it's a really nice fit. And then you can just take a figure. Oh, maybe you shouldn't have grabbed the one with the ponytail, but oh well. And then it just pegs into her back. She's got this cool gun case that she can carry around in her back. So it's a really neat case, if you can find guns that work. Like I said, it took me a while to find this gun. I tried a lot of guns similar to this, and they don't work. Why? Because they only get in about halfway, and then things like this grip get in the way, or if they have sights up here, they get in the way. So there's a lot of guns that will not work with this case. I'm sure Marauders sells their own guns that will work just fine, but if you just have a lot of Joe guns that you're trying to use, you're going to have a hard time finding ones that fit. Also with the Night Ops figure came this cool little hood, and it will only work with figures that are wearing the masked head. The figures with hair, it will not fit over their heads, but just slide it over, and then you can see their face underneath there sticking out. So it's a really neat hood. Neat idea. Problem with the hood is getting it off. Put in some effort, and you'll probably take the head with you if you're not too careful. Oh, I got it off without taking the head off. So there's a first time for everything. So sometimes the head will come off in the hood and you'll just have to, peg it back in and try again. But this time I got lucky. There are numerous modular little pieces like this pouch here. And this is the small pouch that they came with. There's a slightly larger pouch there. And there's the biggest pouches right there. Then there's the pouch with the slot in the top where you can put ammo clips or other tiny little items. There. There's the walkie-talkie. There's this tiny little thing here. I think it's supposed to be like a switch for triggering your explosives or something. It's as near as what I can figure it is. There's the knife sheath with the knife. And this is a new style knife they included with the Valkyries. Really like the way this knife looks. And lastly, well, not lastly, but close to last here, is the holster. And these holsters work really nice. Here's a pistol that I just had. Like I said, the figures didn't come with any guns, so it's just an extra pistol I had. Anyway, holsters work really nice. I like those. And now lastly is this thing here. I have no idea what it is. Looks like a clip of some sort. But I'm not sure exactly what for. I've gone back to the Kickstarter page and looked at all the descriptions of items and things, and I didn't see this thing anywhere. So I do not know what this is supposed to be. So if anyone can figure it out, please leave a comment, because I'd like to know what these are for, because they came with a few different of these. Attaching the modular pieces to the figures is quite easy. You've got the hole there and then the peg, and that just slots in. And it's a pretty good fit for the most part on most of the pieces. Some, like the holsters or the knife sheath, since they're all softer plastic, tend not to stay pegged in quite as well. But for the most part, all the other items stay pegged into the body pretty well. But for the items that don't stay pegged in, you might have to glue them into place. And I know not a lot of people will like that concept, but if you want the figure to look nice and to not be constantly picking up pieces and reattaching them, you're going to probably have to glue them into place. That's mostly true for the vests, which I'll show later, because things don't stay pegged into the vests quite as well as they do to the figure itself. The figure itself you might be able to get away with not gluing, but the vests you're probably going to have to glue things into place. These figures came with two different vests, as you can see here. We've got the gray Urban Ops one, and then this one was the Recon-Ops. The Desert Ops figure also came with one of these in a different color. And these fit on the figures quite easily. We'll need to pop the head off. And it just slides over the neck like that. And then there's these little pegs that put in these little slots here. It takes a little work to get them in there just right, but I found that once you get them in there, they do stay shut. So they are some good pegs. They're not loose like some of the G.I. Joe ones, tend to be, that always seem to come undone. These ones seem to stay pegged once you actually get them in there. And I don't want to fight with it too much. Like I said, it takes a little work. It's not like, there, that's a little better. So, and I do like the way this vest looks. It's It's a really nice design, and it's got 2 holes on the front and then 4 on the back for your modular pieces. I'll just take this one here. And that stays in there pretty good. But like I said, you'll probably have to glue them to make sure they stay in place, because with some handling, some of these modular pieces will pop out in time. And some holes, they stay pegged in better than others. And certain items will fit better than others. So that's that vest. I do like the look of that one. The other vest, grab a different figure here. And much the same. Have to work with the pegs a little bit to get them in there, but once they're in there, they stay pretty well. And I like this vest too, but it definitely looks better with some stuff pegged into it. Whereas the other one has some style to it already. This one's just kind of plain, so you definitely want to peg some things into it to make it look nicer. And there are the 2 vests. Next up we have a belt, which is again has many pegs for modular pieces. There's the front of the belt right there. And to get the belt on, you're going to need to remove, or take the figure apart at the waist, put the belt right there, and then just peg it back. Oh, lost your leg. There we go. And then that just slides down like so. And then take your various modular pieces, and you can peg them right into the different slots on the belt. And there's numerous ones on the front and the back. And again, to get them to stay, you're probably going to want to glue them in if you want to be sure they stay there. In addition to the belt, which was a new item, we also have the bandolier. This is a neat item. I do like this one, and that one just slides over the figure like so. I think it fits better on the male figures. It's a tighter fit. On the female figures, it's a bit loose. As you can see, it can just kind of fall down their shoulder there. So I think this will fit better on male figures, but it does fit female figures okay. And again, it's got a bunch of modular, or holes for modular pieces on the front and the back. Another new item is this backpack, which again has multiple holes for the modular pieces. Even by itself, I like the way it looks, but it will look even better if you decide to put a few accessories into it. And then it just pegs onto the back like so. Some figures do have this other backpack. It's got no ports for modular pieces, but it's supposed to be a hydration backpack. It's supposed to be filled with water, and then you've got this spout here for people to drink out of or pour water or whatever. But it's just basically pegs into the back. But I do like this backpack. Fits really well. I just like the idea of it, and it looks really good too. So that's a nice new backpack they've made. The female figures are different than the male figures that came out previously in that all the male figures had these armored plates on their legs, and the female figures do not. So to kind of rectify that for those that want those, like, you know, armored plate look, they crafted these that just peg into the side of the boot here. And then you have that armored plate look for these figures also. They made this new item, this satchel here. It's got this nice strap, and then it opens up and you can put some things inside, and then it pegs closed fairly easily. And in addition, it does have spots on the side for some modular parts. Specifically, I think designed for that were these explosive charges here that can peg onto the side. And then you just take the figure and they've got their explosive satchel. Another neat little accessory these figures came with, we have a tablet here, and there's no screen on it. It's just, you know, basically a blank color here. Same with this cell phone. But they are creating stickers for these, and there's going to be different stickers that you can put on here. Like some are crack screens, some have different tactical layouts, some look like just normal tablets or cell phones with all the little icons and stuff. So there's going to be multiple different stickers that you could put on these, whatever you desire. But these didn't come with any, they're just blank, but I think that's a neat concept. The final set of gear these figures came with would be the different helmets. And here we have your basic modern military helmet here. I really like the way this one looks. I think it's the same design as the one that came previously with the male figures. And that fits nicely over the mass figure's head. It's a little loose, might slide up and down a little bit, but it's still pretty good fit. And then the figures with hair, it fits much better, it's a much tighter fit, and it looks pretty good on their heads. And the little hole in the front here, they do make plugs for. These things are super tiny. I'm lucky enough not to have lost any yet, but those just plug right into the front there. But they usually don't stay very well, so you're probably going to have to glue those again. But another nice thing that these figures came with was an accessory that you can plug into the front. That's these binoculars. Oops. Make sure I get them facing the right way here. And I really like those because they just flip right up like so to get out of the way, and then when you need them you just flip them back down, and then they've got binoculars. So I really like that accessory. I like the introduction of this thing here. Another helmet we have is the ball cap, and that's made of a really flexible plastic, and it fits really nice on their heads. I really like this cap here. And last would be like kind of the old school military helmet here, and that it's a tighter fit, it's harder to get on, and I don't think it looks as good on the figures that have hair, but it does fit. And they have these goggles here which can just pop right off, but they're made to just rest on top of the helmet like so, because they can't really wear them. If you try to put them over their eyes, it just doesn't look right and doesn't really stay in place very well. So they look okay like hanging from the neck or on the helmet, but that's pretty much what they're made for. They don't stay over the eyes very well. They're just designed to put on the helmet, which is a much wider wider object than their heads, so they won't fit over their heads very well. And this helmet does fit on the masked figures much better than it does on the figures with hair. Alright, that is it for all their accessories. Alright, before I give my final thoughts, I do need to discuss the lone male figure that was part of this line, and that would be the Steadicam gunner. And he is pretty much one of the male figures that was previously released, but he does have some new accessories and some new sculpting that I'd like to point out. And the best way to show that off is to show him next to one of the original Task Force figures previously released. And first thing you might notice are the forearms here, whereas this figure has the rolled up sleeves and the bare forearms and hands. This figure has the armored forearm with gloved hands. So those arms are different on this figure. Everything else on the upper body is the same. On the lower body, the upper legs are the same, but you'll notice he's got new knee pads on this figure. He's got the armored knee pads here. The newer figure just has like this softer looking knee pads. And then finally would be the legs. I mentioned earlier the armored legs that these figures had, whereas this one has just regular booted legs, no armor plates or anything there. Alright, in addition to the new sculpting, he does have this cool little chest plate here, and it comes in two parts. This piece just pops right off, and then he's got this brace that he wears, and then that just pegs right back in to protect him. His Steadicam gun here comes in multiple parts. He's got this belt first, then an armature that comes in two parts. One plugs into the belt and the other plugs in to the gun. The handle is also a piece that you have to plug in. And then he's got the ammo belt here. If you don't like the ammo belt hanging off, he does come with the ammo drum, which you can also plug in, like so. And both look equally good. So I really do like the Steadicam gun. It's nice that, it moves as he moves, so it's a really nice looking gun. They did a good job designing that. Finally, he comes with this helmet, and that slides over his head, although it is a little hard to get it on just right. Doing my best here to do it as quickly and easily as possible. There we go. The only problem with this helmet, other than that it's hard to get on just right, once you do get it on just right, you'll notice that the white mark there is his nose is actually stressing the plastic underneath. So the plastic is thin enough that it's causing the white mark to appear. So that's a potential issue there. And that is the Steadicam gunner. And now for my final thoughts. If I have any complaints about these figures, it involves the modular pieces and the fact that they don't always stay pegged in where you put them. They will probably need to be glued in if you want them to stay in place. So it's a little sad that parts aren't as interchangeable as you'd hope they'd be, but in my experience, usually once you figure out a place for everything, that's probably where you're going to want it to stay anyway without few changes. So gluing them in isn't a huge deal, it's just a minor annoyance. Other than that, there's a few items like the gun case, which I wish worked better, or the helmets, which I wish fit a little bit better on certain heads. Those negatives aside, those are really minor in comparison to really how good these figures are. They're just so well sculpted, so well painted, so well designed. Just everything about them is just fantastic. They did an excellent job through and through in crafting these figures, and I just cannot say enough good about them. With that, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope to see you all again soon for another action figure review here on the Wolf's Den. Until then, thanks for watching.